It's Tadej Pogacar's world, and we're just living it up here on site at the finish of Stage 7 of the 2025 Tour de France. 197 kilometers to finish above Mur de Bretagne. This is one of those famous climbs in cycling out there on the far northwest of France. And Tadej Pogacar, after 5 years have passed since 2021, and if our editor's good, he'll pull up the footage of me riding it back in the day as previewing that climb for the 2021 Tour de France. Now Tadej Pogacar has claimed it as one of his own. Back in 2021, well, it was Mathieu van der Poel, and today the story of Mathieu van der Poel was his struggle to try to look good that final day in the yellow jersey, because everybody knew if things were going to go to plan, Tadej Pogacar was going to take over that yellow jersey, and he did that. Total Tadej domination. After a lot of fighting early on, we saw attackers Van Aert, Schmid go on the attack, then we saw Nilsen Paulus go on the attack, and then finally we saw this group of 5 form. Geraint Thomas, who we call G, the former Tour de France winner, and I want to mention another G towards the end of this piece, and I'll get to him, our Canadian friend. Also in there, Marco Haller, Ivan Cortina. This group of 5 went free with around 134 kilometers in this nearly 200 kilometer long stage. Nothing much happened for most of the day. This was one of those steady Eddie stages that we haven't had so far in the first days of this Tour de France. All of it was coming towards the tail end of this stage, with the 3 climbs and the final 2 above Mur de Bretagne out here in Brittany. And that was when UAE went to work, and they'd been working for most of the day. They had Nils Pollitt on the front, and then also with Alpecin, De Koenig, as always, Sylvain Dillier, who was often on the sprint stages working on the front, with American Quinn Simmons doing his part for Jonathan Milan. The big man in green is how Simmons referred to him this morning. Today, Dillier was working for Van der Poel to try to keep him in contention, to try to give him a chance at holding on to this yellow jersey. And I'll share with you some words from Van der Poel that we had here at the finish line afterwards. Over the first climb, then all the action was into the base of this final climb. Now the Mur de Bretagne, it's 1 kilometer up, which I suffered up back in 2021. I had the Arkea DS behind me in the team car trying to cheer me on as if I was one of his star riders. Back then it was Nairo Quintana. We don't want to talk about that. Probably I'd rather talk about my Strava runs, which was pretty good this morning. Okay, but you're here for the 7th stage of the 2025 Tour de France. Now, leading into that final climb, that's when we had some drama. And unfortunately, it's what happens almost on a daily basis in the Tour de France, although this one was nastier than the others. I'm talking about a crash. It looked nasty. I think one of the riders hit a bottle or something. For a moment, we saw a splash of water out of the legs, out of the tires of one of the riders' bikes. It looked like a Bahrain victorious rider might have went down first. And we saw João Almeida, Pogacar's key helper, off on the side of the road. We saw Jack Haig down, one of the great riders we interview a lot in this race, and we hear later he's already called the end to his 2025 Tour de France. And we saw Santiago Buitrago, who appeared to be, along with Haig, one of the worst off, and Almeida. We caught some footage of Almeida when he finally did cross the line. Blood on his hand, on his legs, on his backside. Buitrago, I didn't get a shot of his back, but I could see him from the front, and they finally pulled off his jersey. They were treating it, and it looked nasty. Just blood all over his back, and I hope he's able to continue, because he's one of their GC hopes, one of their big hopes in this race. So the team took a big hit today. Also in the crash, well, yesterday's stage winner was caught up. Healy, another Irish rider. Dunbar was in the incident as well. Bad luck out on the day for the riders. And I forgot to mention one of the riders that was in our initial escape, Costu. Well, he was caught on the second last climb here before we went down into the valley and approached the final one, and then he was caught up in the climb as well. So bad luck, but he was the final rider of the day. I hope at least they gave him the most combatif rider of the day award. But then on that final climb, UAE, their plan, well, was paying off. And Tadej, well, you know, he's the rider who can deliver. Left with Tadej Pogacar, Jonathan Narvaez setting things up in this elite group. Matteo Jorgensen, along with Jonas Vingegaard in the move. Also white jersey of Remco Evenepoel Everybody looking strong, everybody looking ready, but everybody knowing what's going to happen. Tadej is going to annihilate him. Narvaez did a lead out, he probably didn't need to, and Tadej Pogacar just finished it off. Rainbow band celebrating stage victory, stage 7, and the Maillot Jaune as a bonus, and he'll probably hold on to that jersey until we get all the way to Paris. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts. Is this race over? Today I did a vlog asking the different riders about that, so stay tuned for that one. You'll want to hear what they have to say. There's still a lot of fighting to come, and Van der Poel, I said I had some words from him afterwards. He was doing Dutch, he was doing French. He's a popular rider also with what happened here back in 2021. And then he did some English and he turned over to me and I asked him, hey, you know, if you could lose it to anybody, how about losing it to Tadej Pogacar, the commander-in-chief of the 2025 Tour de France and of cycling, for all that matters. And he said, yeah, he's not a bad person to lose it to. He's the strongest rider in this race, and as it is, he'll probably hold on to it until Paris. That's Mathieu van der Poel's take. And I mentioned G Thomas was in the escape today. Well, there's another G, Guillaume Boivin. I don't know if his friends only call him G, and I hope I consider one of his friends, but we're going to call him G today. Canadian rider from Israel Premier Tech. I caught up with him at the finish because I also interviewed him at the start of the stage, and I asked him, hey, what if I told you Tadej Pogacar won the stage? And he said, in a sarcastic tone, shocker. Yeah, shocker. Well, the shock today is a shot to the system for Jonas Vingegaard, who rode off without doing any interviews afterwards. We tried to get him. Matteo Jorgensen, who didn't look too happy when we did speak to him on the finish line, because it's Tadej Pogacar clearly in control, clearly throwing the hammer down on rival team Visma Lease bike. And we're only 7 days in to this 2025 Tour de France, and Tadej Pogacar on top. Stage win, yellow jersey.